Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me get my comments on. Hi. Welcome, replay watchers. This is Christine Blossom Marguerite. Let me make sure my camera is pretty good so you can see me okay. Yeah, I guess the lights are okay. All right, sweet. Hi. Love Evolve Energy / Aligned Light. Right now we're at lovevolvenergy.com. You're catching me on one of three platforms. You're catching me either on YouTube, either at Love Evolve Energy YouTube channel, or Evolve Within Love, Evolve in Love YouTube channel, or you're catching me on a Love Evolve Energy / Aligned Light Facebook group, Facebook page. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a hub. It's a business page. It's a hub. And I confess, we'll see if some people show up, but I confess that I'm a little bit on edge right now. I may have to pop off early, or just for, Paul Hoffman, if you know the joke, for a few seconds and do the thing. I'm completely in a tizzy about a family thing that's about to happen, and they changed the schedule on it, and so it has really kind of messed up my work life. But so be it. So be it. The few cooling inhales, I move into shamatha, or cooling of the heart practice. Anyway, so today, as per usual, yes, I know I'm a little bit distracted. I did want to unpack a couple of things. One is there's the day-long meditation happening this Saturday, so I'm pretty excited about that. It's near and dear to my heart, the theme that we're going to be addressing. And we'll talk about it. What we're going to be looking at this weekend is the sense gates, your five senses. We'll call them gates, gateways to multidimensional reality for sure, but you start with basics, really just to get your bearings there and to get really clear and distinct between what's happening within the different arenas of perceiving the now moment, reality, your present as it arises. So that's what we will be honing. Great way to hone your intuition through meditative techniques. So that's what we'll be doing on Saturday. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Today we're going to talk about that just a bit. Let me make sure we're a go on all the things. Great. So happy about that. I kept changing the time, and I'm up a little bit early. I confess, I'm up a little bit early. Hopefully people can see that. I kept changing the time because I'm all distracted because of this family thing. So apologies for that. Welcome to Lionsgate and full moon. Was in Aquarius. Now are we in Pisces yet? I think it's a moon in Pisces, pretty sure. Really interesting. Moving into the sign of Virgo. Have we already moved? What's today's date? Yes, we have. The 25th. Yes, we have. Sure. Or is it on the 28th it shifts? Anyway. And on other notes, well, so let me say, and then I'll do the other notes. An interesting thing happened. I might end this broadcast and start again. We'll see how it goes. An interesting thing happened. Hold on. You're seeing my wheels turn, and I'm trying to make a decision. I think I'm just going to keep going. So, and apologies about this. I had a really interesting conversation with my niece, brief conversation about her waking up and her awakening. She's always had some things going. Keep going. Okay, Gay, you got it. Oh, so distracted. So I don't know if you heard me, but I may have to pop off and pull a Hoffman at about 11:30 or so. We'll see how it goes. A really interesting conversation with my niece. She may end up watching this. I mean, who knows? I don't know. Just about some of the deeper woo stuff that I wasn't sure she was aware of. I knew she was dabbling in things. So really interesting that she is having deeper experiences. And so I just kind of mentioned things in joking, and then we ended up in a conversation. And a couple of other of my family members were like laughing and joking about it. We were like, yep, awesome. Thanks, guys. Whatever. And we kind of kept going. So maybe I'll unpack that next week or the week after. Anyway, a lot of this Wednesday/Thursday pop-up live thing that I've been doing where I'm unpacking a lot of the foundational elements of a meditation practice. A lot of that is preparation for what's happening this weekend and for other stuff in the future. So what I really wanted to unpack fully today was the relationship between the sense gates and what they are and what we'll be practicing this weekend on the day long. You know what? I'm not sure if in the written blurb there, if there's this schedule, the retreat schedule. I'm doing it East Coast time. If you've ever been on a regular retreat, you know that it starts really early in the morning and there are breaks throughout the day and goes to pretty late at night. You know, it's retreat intensive experience. I'm not doing that so much unless you are on the West Coast and you're experiencing time from that point of view. It will be starting 9 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time. So if you're West Coast, that's 6 o'clock in the morning. So you might be regular retreat schedule. We will be ending we're not going to be doing a full 12 hours. We'll have a couple of hours break for lunch. And we'll end about, I think, 8 o'clock, something like that. So, okay, so maybe it's not 12 hours, maybe it's 11, something like that. Close to 12 hours, but there's lots of breaks throughout. So, and it's quite affordable for any retreat, certainly for an online retreat. So please join, tell your friends, things like that. Another thing, so what I am going to be unpacking is the relationship between concentration practice, which organically arises in relation to whether it's equanimity practices, which I've been talking about for weeks now, and or the other practice of honing the sense gates, or as my teacher calls, sensory clarity skills. Sensory clarity, clarifying the sense gates, clearing, strengthening, honing, sharpening. For honing, that's kind of what I mean. I mean strengthening and sharpening, becoming more clear within each sense gate and what's happening there in your mundane three-dimensional life, and then onward into whatever dimension you're exploring at the moment. So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit. I also maybe wanted to bring up something that's been, and I put it in hopefully it's still there, I put it in the blurb. A lot of my friends going through stuff, including my niece. And if you are very aware of all the conversations around what's happening in the multidimensional levels, and you're hearing about the grand flash, the flash of light and transcendence, and going on the transporters or ships and relationship to that kind of stuff, it's a conversation I'm a part of, although, excuse me for a minute, although I'm not unpacking that in depth necessarily right now. What it does point at is what people are calling awakening or awake, which presumes that you were sleeping in terms of some aspect, and you're waking up to that aspect. That's all awakening means. You've seen the light. The light has been shown on something. A lot of people are having different flavors of this waking up experience, and definitely there are depths and layers to it, and you can have an awakening in your teens like I did, and then keep having them every decade. You can think of them as another one of my teachers, Stuart Savatsky, who I highly recommend y'all checking out, calls them spiritual puberties. That's very much what they are, because they do affect your nervous system and your hormonal system. That's how we experience them. And so, just doing a little time check there. So there are particular flavors of awakening and layers and levels and depths of them. The big conversation over the last 5+ years has been woke nation. Are you woke? It's kind of the slang, awakening. And that means different things to different people. So, there's a part of me that's a little, I get a little ruffled about that, because be clear. What do you mean when you say that? Because it kind of loses its meaning if you just use it as a way to puff up your spiritual ego, versus as opposed to actually identifying an experience that you've had or are in the process of having. And it's not anybody who's been on the spiritual practitioner path for a while knows that it's not a one-shot deal. It's not a one-time, in the way like you don't just brush your teeth once and then you're like good for life. Like awakening it's like brushing your teeth. Like it happens repeatedly. And perhaps the first couple of them, I would say, who knows, different for everybody. Depends how cognizant you are of the process while it's happening, and accepting, and what kind of support system you have. All of that will determine how cognizant or aware you are of what's actually happening in terms of your spiritual evolution. So, the first couple of them, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, might be a little rocky and rough. And then, I would say my first 2, there were like 2 big ones. The second one happened, probably 3 big ones. The third one was the big push. And maybe I'll talk about that next week, and we'll dive much more deeply into that. All I want to say about that is that I have my own frame of reference and perception, frame of reference for understanding and articulating what those experiences were and are, based on the different spiritual traditions I was practicing within. Hinduism, yoga, perennial philosophy, Buddhist philosophy. So that's my languaging around things and my understanding. I became familiar with Christian mysticism, which is another path to awakening, aka spiritual evolution, that a lot of people are familiar with as well. Find a path, find a context and a frame of reference that makes sense for you. If it's happening for you, and it looks like Kundalini, it looks like stream entry, I'm your gal. I can talk about those things. Am I a psychologist, counselor, therapist in terms of the shadow aspects that arise with those awakenings? No. I have worked with them and I know who they are. I can point you in the right direction. In fact, a really dear friend of mine is in the process of another post-praniton, post-cleansing, full-on Kundalini explosion through her physical system, which will affect some of her mental emotional systems as well, because they have a physical component. And I did direct her to certain things to look at and did some support work with her. There are certain markers that will indicate what's happening for your body, that would indicate a probably, highly likely, Kundalini experience. Smells like a duck, looks like a duck, walks like a duck, probably a duck. Smells like a duck, walks like a duck, talks like a duck, probably a duck. Walks like Kundalini, smells like Kundalini, talks like Kundalini, probably Kundalini. Maybe not, but likely. It's likely. And so within those markers, there's certain ways that you sit with it, or there's certain ways that I sat with it and was guided to sit with it. Those aren't the only ways, but they were helpful for me. It took me a couple of years, if I have to be frank. I don't have to be frank. I'm Christine. It was really funny when I was dating somebody named Frank, who's Belgian, actually. So that was really funny when I would say that, because it wouldn't. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. Perhaps next week we can unpack woke experiences, so that there's, and I'm sure I've talked about them before, but perhaps again, I can simply have it recorded, my perspective, and where to go when the poop hits the fan and you really need more assistance and support than myself as an energy worker, a body worker, intuitive reader channel can help you. There's something specific to the Kundalini experience and any spiritual awakening that changes your idea of self or who you are. It changes how you perceive the world and your psychology. And therein is the rub. When it starts to affect those things and you're functioning in your mundane life, it's helpful to deal with the crap that gets dislodged with a trained therapist. Psychiatry will give you drugs, so maybe not. Psychotherapist, therapist, psychologist, counselor, somebody like that. That's who I would recommend. I mean, it's occurred to me that I may at some point get a I might end up getting a degree in counseling, just to add that to my cadre and bag of tricks. We'll see, though. We'll see. So there's another 10 minutes before I have to blow this clam bake, and I will be back. It will just take me a few moments and help out with a family thing. What I do want to talk about, and let's get excited about, so before I go on to the exciting thing, let me just say that I may have to pop off. So let's transition a bit, and I'll get into today's topic, and I'll just begin unpacking it. It's nothing that's going to take a huge long time, really. We've flogged to death the horse of equanimity. I believe. If you're catching this for the first time, you might want to check out those other broadcasts. SENSEGATES, if you decide to join us, Friday night, I really do the intro for the course. It's not really a course, for the retreat. And then Saturday morning, we dive in. I will unpack again what I'm a little bit going to unpack here. I'll unpack it more in depth, and we'll do something experiential. Concentration practice is an interesting thing. Almost every meditation technique that you pick up will have an element of concentration in it. Or it could be exclusively honing that skill. Could be exclusively honing that skill. So as I begin to unpack it just a little bit, I wanted to take out that book. I'll take out that book when I have to address the family stuff. Hey, Chris, how you doing? So, concentration. What is it? There are different ways to talk about it. I'll talk about it first in a yogi way, because it's how most people know it, whether they're doing prayer or concentrating on an image or a candle or a chakra or pretty much anything else. It's key, a subtle skill, a subtle muscle that will be built within any spiritual practice you engage with. In yoga, typically, your object of concentration, which you perceive through a sense gate, mind you, through a sense gate, which is why the sense gates are so important. What are you perceiving? Any object that you perceive, whether it's external or internal, your choice to strengthen that particular muscle. In the yoga tradition, typically, not always and across the board, but typically, and particularly the traditions I was trained and practiced in, your object of concentration is something internal. You create an internal image. You feel your breath internally. You create, for many years, I was focusing on physical sensation, which is external, object of concentration, associated with the third eye, which would be a mental concept or a subtle body internal focus of concentration. Particularly if I was looking at it, third eye sight, looking at it, focusing on that object of concentration in terms of sight. That happens to be probably my strongest layer or sense gate, most honed historically, and still true to this day. And so I'll speak in terms of the basic process of deepening concentration on an internal sensation. I say that because the first step the first step is always relaxing, settling in, getting there, accepting with equanimity, which we've talked about for a while now, what's happening in your present moment. And then your next action or activity step is to begin to draw your sense gates inward, awareness inward. So closing your eyes is a first step in turning your sight inward. No longer listening to external thoughts, but beginning to listen inwardly to sound or dialogue. And the same thing with your physical body. It's beginning to leave a lot of physical sensations in the relaxation mode and then begin to turn into the inward feelings of energy and emotional body. That's stage one. Just turn inward. Yay! If you can do that, yay, stage one. Step two within that practice, once the sense gates are turned inward, usually it is presumed upon the object of concentration, say the breath or inward awareness of the third eye. Then it's beginning to hold your attention there, inward focused on that object of concentration for a length of time, a small length of time. Whether that's 2 minutes or 30 minutes, 30 minutes starts to transition into something else. Or whether for 30 minutes you're on it, you get distracted, then you come back to it, you come back to it, you come back to it. That's the stage. The Sanskrit word is dharana, pratyahara dharana. Dharana is just extended, senses turned inward. After a time, what begins to happen is that muscle strengthens. The concentration muscle and tolerance and ability strengthens. Sense gates, pratyahara, turn inward. Dharana, within the yoga tradition, everybody, we're still in the yoga tradition right now. I think this is in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, actually. So way modern yoga tradition. Pratyahara, turned inward, sustained for some length of time. Dharana. Dhyana, Dhyana, another another Sanskrit word. Dharana, dhyana, is sustained. So the awareness turns in, rests on the object of concentration inwardly, and then doesn't get as distracted. So perhaps you're there with the breath or the third eye for 15 or 20 minutes in a row, zero distractions. 30 minutes in a row, zero distractions. Strengthening dhyana, an hour. Concentration, inward, strengthened, zero distractions for an hour, dhyana. By the time you hit an hour mark, you're sliding into the beginning threshold stage of the next stage, which is called samadhi. Everybody's heard about samadhi, or samadhis, more accurately. There are many samadhis. Is a pleasant, sukha, blissful, pleasant state. Sukha is more Pali than Sanskrit. Pleasant, blissful state. So what happens if your dhyana, if your sustained concentration is strong and continues to go on, by the time you head towards that, say, hour mark, other sensations will arise. A kind of sustained concentration will create sensations in your physical, emotional body that are blissful. Here's the rub in the first stage of samadhi. The first stage itself, the blissful arisings, can in themselves be distracting. Quelle surprise. And so at that point, to get on to first, second, third, I think there are like 15 or more, a whole bunch of stages of samadhis, 10th samadhi. You simply keep your focus of concentration non-dissuaded on your object. The bliss will arise. It won't distract you. You let it go. You soften, you let it go, and you keep staying with the decided object of concentration. Now, said object of concentration may morph and may shift. You stay with its morphing and shifting, but you continue on into your land of samadhis, the endless samadhis. With that, I need a little, few second break. You know what? Maybe I'll put on a little picture and I'll be back. I just have to check in with my family thing that I mentioned before. Yeah, you can let other people know if they're like, where the hell is she? I'm going to put on some music so you can dance a little bit. Yeah. All right. I'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm back. Was that weird? I might do that all the time. I kind of love that. I kind of love that in between thing. That's ridiculous. I kind of dealt with my family thing. It kind of hadn't happened yet. Anyway, I so apologize. I just really wanted to stay true to this. I did find that book I was looking for, though. This, right, Concentration, Lee Brasington, A Practical Guide to the Jhanas. So in the Buddhist tradition, particularly the Mahayana traditions, that may not mean anything to you. That's okay. They don't use the word samadhi necessarily. They use jhana, the bliss states. So, right concentration, A Practical Guide to the Jhanas. This dude, Lee Brasington, has got it going on like Donkey Kong. Love it. Or Janet's mom, or whoever has it going on. A really thorough, he does retreats as well, where they're simply, in the way that we are simply focusing on the sense gates on Saturday, that day long, you can do an entire day. He does week longs, just concentration. You pick one thing, and that's all, and you simply strengthen that muscle. So I don't have a lot more to say about it because that would really be unpacking the different jhanic states. Its relationship to the sense gates may seem obvious to you right now. It's obvious to me, but if it's not obvious to you, let me help you out with that. So, you know how the past couple of weeks I've been talking about endlessly equanimity? Kind of a prerequisite for a lot of practices, so that as you begin to sit or lay down or walk or whatever physical form you're taking for your, whatever seat you're taking for your meditation practice. Oh my God, I just got hugely distracted. I need food. Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Squirrel, where was I? Whatever seat you're taking and whatever practice you're taking up, equanimity will help you not freak the F out when stuff goes on, when your shadow arises, when your dead mother-in-law comes to visit you. Equanimity is a support system for dominion and sovereignty. Dominion and sovereignty give rise to equanimity. Equanimity in itself makes everything okay, helps you function at the highest functionality when things are bad and stress is hitting the fan, so that you, with a calm, equanimous mind, can take skillful action. When things are good, you don't get carried away into bliss states and you never return from your jhanic samadhi. Equanimity helps with all things. It helps with all things. That being said, equanimity can be learned the hard way by going through stuff and learning to survive and be calm within it. Or you can learn it other ways. That will be a retreat at a later date. I've talked about it endlessly. I have a lot of videos that I said I would compile into one little thing so that people can find lots of different ways and techniques to work with equanimity. Concentration will arise this weekend as we focus on the different sense gates. For example, we will focus on sight and seeing external things and seeing internally. Equanimously bearing witness to what arises internally and staying with what's happening with your internal visions, your internal sights, not getting distracted by internal words and dialogue, not getting distracted by your body and your emotional state, and or getting distracted, realizing you're distracted and simply bringing your awareness back to seeing into the internal sight, or whatever you choose. By doing that again and again, it's sounding familiar, right? It's sounding like not just pratyahara, that turning the awareness inward. It's sounding like dharana, that first stage of just building the strength of concentration. So it will be implicit in and organically arising within, honing the sense gates, honing in on different ways of perceiving our reality. If you're in a human body, you have potentially the capacity for all sense gates to be firing: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching, feeling. All of those are ways to perceive your external world. If you turn those inward, there's a correlate. There's a see inward. There's a hear inward. There's a feel inward that we would call energy and emotional body. Imagining scent and imagining taste without an external activation of those sense gates. The inner sense gates, that's particularly what we'll be honing this coming weekend, just so y'all know. What happens when you begin to really focus on one particular sense gate for half an hour or what have you, not only will your concentration build, will that muscle, your capacity to concentrate, to focus for longer and longer periods of time increase, your familiarity, clarity within that sense gate will increase. If you hang out with your friend for half an hour, for an hour, say, you get to know that friend pretty well. You begin to know how that friend is so unique and pretty distinct from any other friend you have. There may be similarities, but that friend is unique. Befriending the sense gates. You befriend your internal sight, your internal hearing, and all the others as well, by spending time with them, by really getting to know what that is for you. And in particular, what's yours and what's not yours. What are you getting from your guides? What is generated from your own particular soul source spirit nervous system? Really important distinction to make. Is this image coming from my client's guide? Is it coming from an angel that I work with? Is it coming from my own particular gestalt and nervous system, my soul, my higher self? The only way to really know is to hang out, spend time within internal sight. Get familiar, get to know it. Hang out specifically without the distraction of thought, of dialogue, without the distraction of your emotional state, without the distraction of your physical state. Not that those distractions will not arise, they will. Look, given long enough time, they will arise until you're very practiced with this. In another sense, if we're talking about the feel states, the feel in states, really huge for physical, emotional empaths. What's my emotional state? What is true here? The only way to know is to really hang out with your emotional state. And perhaps it's so bombarded that you don't even know what's yours and what isn't. So how do you find out? You can go to a psychic and they can tell you, or you can trust yourself. Please trust yourself. That's where I'll guide you. And yeah, I can give an intuitive reading, and I can tell you what's so much more beneficial is for you to simply go within and look for it, to hunt for it, and begin to really befriend your own emotional body. Then you can begin to clear out and tweeze out. And my experience tells me that any time spent within one of the sense gates not simply clarifies the awareness of it, hones it, strengthens it, it also clarifies it in the sense of cleaning it out. If something moves into your emotional body and it ain't you, a boundary can go up. You can call in the forces and you can say not allowed, simply resting within your emotional body with the exclusion of other intrusive emotional bodies or things tapping into your particular emotional body. Simply resting with it will nurture it, will strengthen it. The concentration practice itself is strengthening and strengthening that sense gate as well. Help for empaths. We're not just going to stay within the empathic, emotional empathic, physical empathic state during the day long. We'll be traveling throughout all the other sense gates. So empaths, I would say that is sort of, I haven't really been advertising it as such because it's secondary to and an additional benefit to clarifying and strengthening your empathic skills, which are essentially your intuitive skills and your clairs anyway, just saying. If I begin to advertise it as such with empathy and the empathic states, there's other kinds of people that are attracted to it. And we end up staying heavily within the emotional realm. That's not what we're doing on Saturday. We're moving through, and the emphasis is on clarifying and strengthening, honing, getting clear about what's there. There's also the capacity to conflate the mind states. The mind states being auditory states, inner dialogue, hearing songs, and visual states. There's a picture. There's a memory. Memories can be within a mind state a conflation of see and hear, internal, with an add-on of an internal emotional state. So pretty soon you got this soup of what's the emotion, what's the visual, and what's the dialogue, what's the hearing. Pretty soon you don't know, and it's just one fell swoop, one clot of stuff. If you can clarify, you can unravel the knot of a memory and you can see it for what it is. It's a mental dialogue with mental pictures, moving or otherwise, that there is an emotional response to, that there is an emotional activation to. That's an internal emotional feel, internal seeing, and internal hearing. Those are the components of most memories. That's it. You can add additional meaning onto that if you like, and really tie your panties in a bunch. And we talked about this last week. But to begin to really clarify, oh, this is an internal here. Once you can clarify the arising of your present moment as full as filling up your sense gates internally and externally, you can begin to distinguish and enjoy what's arising externally and internally through your clarified sense gates, and have some equanimity with what arises when it's really difficult externally and internally, to not take anything personally. Because ultimately, in a deeper state of equanimity, nothing is personal, because there is no personal. That does not exist. In fact, we won't go there this weekend unless by special request. How you understand yourself to be is a collection, a glom on of see in, see out, hear in, hear out, feel in, feel out. And perhaps smell in, smell out, and taste in, taste out. That it's a glom on of a selfing. A self is a collection of different threads and different pieces of the puzzle of experience and energy. As we begin to hone the sense gates, you can undo the puzzle. You can untweeze the knot of self and gain some clarity on who you really are. What's actually happening in your moment? What's actually happening in your intuitive readings? What's actually happening in your energy sessions? What's actually happening in your mediumship? How do guides show up for you? How do your clients' guides most easily communicate with you now that you have a lot of options and your sense gates are freed up? There's so many options about how this can arise. Hugely beneficial for light workers. How are you praying? Are you using prayer? Are you using external sound? Are you using words? Are you using internal sound, dialogue? Are you receiving with your eros? Are you receiving agape? Are you receiving the divine source energy through words and images, or are you receiving it through feels? Be clear. Just be clear. All right. That's all I want to say today. I've hit about an hour. Hope that's clear as mud. That's what we're doing on Saturday for the day long, honing the sense gates. I'll probably mention equanimity, concentration practice a little. Those will be side effects, as well as strengthening your empathic boundaries. They're all side effects of honing, clarifying, strengthening your capacity to be with the present moment, which only happens through the sense gates. Being with the present moment through internal sound, through internal sight, taste, smell, touch, etc., etc. All right. You got it. You got it going on, I think. You guys are pretty quiet today, so I'm just going to keep it there. Let this rest here. Right now, it kind of looks like a go. I had one other person sign up. If there's a couple more, then it's definitely a go for Saturday. So I'm pretty excited about that. If you can't be there for the whole thing, no sweat and bullets. The whole thing will be pre-recorded. So if you all can only be there for the morning session, cool. If you can only be there for the afternoon, evening sessions, cool. Don't worry about it. You'll get everything in your inbox so that you can use this at other times. Wicked cool, wicked cool. All right. The schedule, geez Louise, I hope I posted. I'll have to check on that later. If I haven't posted what the schedule is, if you need to know about that a little bit more, loosely, I'll say that on Saturday morning, we'll start at 9 a.m. East Coast time. Friday night, we'll start 7 or 7:30 p.m. I can't remember what I scheduled. I can be flexible too. East Coast time. So those are the things. All right, you guys, much love. Thanks, Gay. Thanks, Chris, for hanging out with me, doing all the do. And I'll see you Saturday. And if not, I'll see you next week. Also, if you're interested in water, flow, and color, and watercolor and paint, we're going to be doing that Sunday night and Monday night when we awaken the body Deva through the water element. I'm pumped. Oh my God, I had to postpone it because of water hurricane, which was kind of a non-event. We didn't end up losing electricity, but it was a big event for the family and stuff. All right, I'll catch you guys on the flip. I'll see you Saturday day, or maybe I'll see you Sunday night or Monday night. All right. No worries, Rach. You can watch this on the replay. I'm about to blow this clam bake. Speaking of Cape Cod. All right. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I have some exciting announcements coming up. Ooh, I'll catch you on the flip. All right. Bye, guys. Let me see if I can do another little clear out as I leave. Yep. Love ya.